Welcome to this week's edition of Turning Two Tunes. My name is Hannah Martin, and I am your host of the very best country music and baseball talk show around. First of all, we had an off week last Sunday because of the holidays, so I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, ate lots of turkey, or if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, like my sister, she's a vegetarian. Thanks for listening, Amanda. Shout out to you. Maybe you had a delicious baked cauliflower dish with cheese on it for your main dish. Amanda loved it. Maybe you loved it too. I loved the turkey that my brother Zach made. So shout out to Zach. Great turkey, bro. Today is a very special day because today is the day that we kick off season 2 of the show. I'm so excited. For this season, we're going to be going division by division, talking about how each team stacks up and what I think their odds are of making it to the promised land. October baseball, the World Series. I'm super excited to do this. In high school, I was the editor-in-chief of my high school's newspaper, and I was a blogger for the paper, and so I did this segment, but I wrote everything out, and so I did a 6-week kind of installment for the paper, of which I went division by division and gave my prediction. I mean, they were all wrong, and I'm sure my predictions will probably be wrong this year too. I think I had the Cubs and the Red Sox in the World Series for this past season, so that didn't pan out. But what am I going to do? I'm going to do it anyway because I love talking about baseball, and we've had a week off, so we're really ready to come back. We're going to jump into it, and today we're going to talk about the AL West, which of course includes your Seattle Mariners. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about the Mariners. Is it our year? We'll find out. Maybe not. We'll see. Is it our year? Who knows? You can call in today at any point in the show to chat with me about anything you'd like to, including the Mariners. It's very exciting. We haven't talked about the Mariners in a while, so I'm excited to jump back into it. And to be on the air, the best time to call is when I'm playing music, because I am a one-woman show up here. So it's best not to call in when I'm talking, because I can't get to your call if I'm talking on the air. So when I'm playing music, give me a call. That number, I'll repeat it lots throughout the show. 509-335-2207. All right, y'all, we are going to start off with Katie Armiger's Merry Go Round. Here we go. All right, so let's kick this off. Today we are talking about the AL West and predictions for the 2018 season. Ooh, yeah, 2018 season. So we are going to start. Let's start with how the AL West all shaked out last season. Obviously, the Astros, they won the World Series. They won their division. 101 win season. Right behind them, well, not right behind them, 21 games behind them, were the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. In third place, the Seattle Mariners. They had a record of 78 and 84th. That's 481. That's not 500. The Rangers had the same record as the Mariners, so a tie for third there. And then in the bottom, the cellar dwellers, the Oakland Athletics. So we are going to talk about the Astros here first, since they were the winners. They get to go first. I mean, what is there to say about this team that hasn't already been said? I kind of feel like this team, phenomenal job. Obviously, won the World Series. They addressed issues that they had throughout the year with the pitching. They went out. They got Justin Verlander. That worked beautifully for them, obviously. They won the World Series. But moving forward and going forward, kind of those question marks, if there are any for the Astros, because you always do want to get better. And I don't want to drag everybody else in the AL West, but I don't think necessarily that those teams are going to get leaps and bounds better. So I think the Astros are in a very favorable position because they do have a lot of good young players. Carlos Carrasco, not Carlos Carrasco, he plays for Cleveland. Carlos Correa, there we go. George Springer, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve. You have all of these guys who are, the future of your team, and they're really young and they're doing so well at a young age. So, I mean, if I'm the GM of the Astros, I'm chilling right now. But if they're going to go out and do anything, they're probably going to address pitching, because I think the offense is, Jose Altuve just won his second AL MVP award. So you know what he can do offensively. Alex Bregman coming around. Carlos Correa, obviously great. You got George Springer, Josh Reddick. Marwin Gonzalez had a breakout season. I read that he had more RBIs than anybody on the team in the regular season. Just like crazy stuff here. Everybody was hitting. Can you expect that same thing to happen again this year? No. But I don't see all of these guys having like this huge drop-off season where the Astros are like scrambling to score runs or scrambling to, get good ABs. Pitching is where they're probably going to address. I did read an article, because you know me, I'm always reading, that they might try to target Wade Davis, who is the current closer for the Cubs. But I think that could be an interesting thing, because I think the bullpen is probably their one weak spot. I mean, on a World Series team, they're on a lot of holes. So I think that that's the one area they would target. Wade Davis, obviously one of the best closers in the game, 32 for 33 in save chances last season with a 2.30 ERA, and he appeared in 59 games. So, and everybody saw what he did with the Royals the year they won the World Series a couple years back. So he's a proven guy coming out of the pen there. I think that could be very interesting for the Astros there, because who do they have closing games for him anymore? Is it Ken Giles? I believe it's Ken Giles is their closer right now. So I mean, yeah. Definitely maybe looking for an upgrade there. No knock on Ken Giles. Obviously, he has a ring and I don't, so go Ken Giles. Another thing that the Astros might address would be the front end of the pitching staff there, the starting rotation. Obviously, you have Dallas Keuchel, Cy Young Award winner. You have Justin Verlander, Cy Young Award winner, AL MVP, and I'm not completely sold on, the Justin Verlander that we saw in the playoffs is going to be the Justin Verlander we see all season in the 2018 season. But then you do have, obviously, you have Dallas Keuchel there if anything happens. So that's good to have two, ace caliber pitchers there. And then looking at the 3-4-5 as it, stacks out, I think they might go out and try to get that solid 3 or 4 guy. Because right now they have Lance McCullers, Colin McHugh, Charlie Morton, Brad Peacock, all like kind of appeared in different roles there in the playoffs. And I think they could roll with that, but I also think, you're always looking to get better. You're always looking to upgrade. So I think that if they're going to do anything there, they're going to look for a 3 or 4, or maybe even a 5. But I think they're going to go for a 3 or a 4 kind of guy, just to kind of shore up that rotation. I think that would be very interesting to go out. But no major moves that I'm going to see happening for the Astros. If they do anything, I'd be really surprised if they do anything like major. They're not, in the hunt for Stanton or anything like that. But I think the Astros are very comfortable with where they at right now. They are losing Carlos Beltran, so maybe they're going to go out and maybe get somebody veteran kind of guy who can kind of be a leadership kind of force in the clubhouse there, because that was kind of what Carlos Beltran's role came down to, was he kind of clock ran down on his career. And I mean, what a career it was. Like, we could talk about Hall of Fame for Carlos Beltran. His postseason numbers alone are just astounding. But as far as the Astros go, I think that maybe they'll go out, get a veteran kind of guy who could be that 3 or 4 number pitcher there in the rotation, or who could be back end of the bullpen somewhere along those lines. I wouldn't also be surprised if the Astros just went out and got somebody for that bullpen. But right now I'm looking at the back end of it, 8th or 9th inning guy. The Astros have 5 free agents. Carlos Beltran is one of them, so he's retiring. And then Tyler Clippard, Luke Gregerson, Francisco Liriano, and Cameron Maybin. So, I mean, there's nobody there that they're like, if they lose any of those guys, it's not going to be like a big hit. Probably Luke Gregerson would be the biggest hit, but it's not going to be like if the Yankees lost Aaron Judge or somebody. Like it's not going to be catastrophic if they lose any of those guys. So if I'm a fan of the Astros, I'm really happy right now. Obviously, won a World Series. But chances for 2018, this team isn't slowing down. This team isn't going anywhere. This team, it's not like, you have these aging superstars who this was their last year of, like, this is the year to win it or we're done. They got great young players. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the AL West right now, but the Mariners are. But, yeah, the Astros, yeah, watch out for them in 2018. They've got the momentum, obviously, got the rings. They're going. So, keep an eye on them. It'll be interesting to see because the AL West is one of the weaker divisions. Again, not to, like, drag the whole AL West, but it's nice to beat up on the Athletics and the Mariners and the Rangers and the Angels 19 times a year. So that helps. I want to hear your thoughts on the Astros, what you think they're going to do, if you think they're going to make any big moves, how you think they're going to do in 2018. 509-335-2207. We're going to jump back into some music, and when we come back, we will be talking about the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. All right, we are moving right along here. We are going to talk about the team that finished in second place in the AL West, the Angels. Yep. So, I mean, whenever you think of the Angels, you really, a lot of, at least in my case, people think about Mike Trout and how I heard it, I can't remember what show it was on, but it was some show on MLB Network, and somebody said, you have to find reasons every year to not give Mike Trout the MVP award. And I feel like that's just so true, because he's just such a good player. Like, he's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of player. And every time I think about how he stuck with the Angels, I die a little bit inside, because it makes me so sad to see his kind of talent, I don't want to say wasted, but I'm going to say it, wasted on the Angels. I mean, they haven't done anything in the past 5 years. They finished fourth in the wild card standings. They finished tied for third. 5 games out. They had a record of 80 and 82. So they played around 500 ball all year. You look at the roster up and down, and first of all, there's no way they can compete with the Astros. So even if they, go out and make a big deal or something. So then you have to look at the wild card, and you figure one of those 2 wild card spots is going to go to either the Red Sox or the Yankees, because they are both good teams, and I am very excited to talk about the AL East and my predictions for that in a couple weeks. So there's really one wild card spot there. And do I see the Angels, getting that wild card spot? That's got to be their goal, because at this point I feel like it's unrealistic for the Angels to think that they can compete with the Astros or try to challenge them for that top spot. But let's talk about the Angels. I think on the offensive side of things, they do have some good pieces. Obviously, they have Mike Trout. They have Cole Calhoun, who is really underrated as a right fielder. So because both his defense and his offense, he's a great defensive right fielder, and he is also a great offensive right fielder. So I think he's really underrated, and because he plays for the Angels, he's kind of underrated there, and everybody wants to talk about Mike Trout, but Cole Calhoun is really great. You've got Andrelton Simmons, who came over from the Braves a couple of years ago. He's a really great shortstop, great glove. The bats, but the glove is there. I think he's won a couple of Gold Gloves. They acquired Justin Upton last season. They have CJ Cron. And then they have Albert Pujols as a DH, who was actually really did really well for them last year. He hit his 600th home run, I want to say, last season. It was some big major number that he hit. And so he did that for them. So he was great for them. And then you had Mike Trout and then Albert Pujols in the 3-4 spot. So Mike Trout had some good protection there. But still, it was, it makes me sad to see him over there. I wish he was on like a good team, like a competitive team. Like that would be amazing, because then we would get to see more of him, and we would get to see him play October baseball, because he has not played a game in the postseason. And that makes me so sad when you see like these great players who never get to go to the postseason, or play 2 games and then they're done, or lose in a wild card scenario. Felix Hernandez is somebody that comes to mind like automatically. He has been a really great pitcher for the Mariners for so many years. He's never played a day of postseason baseball, and so Mike Trout is in that same category. There are a lot of guys in that same category who unfortunately are just on these teams that are, maybe they're 500 teams, maybe they're a little bit under 500, maybe they're a lot under 500 in terms of the Mariners, sorry. But they just never get to play in the postseason, and it just makes me sad. So, I mean, not sure what they would, maybe they go out and get somebody like Eric Hosmer. Maybe Eric Hosmer is the first baseman for the Royals. He's a free agent right now. He's on the market. I don't know. This team, the way it's structured and how they're able to play 500 ball, like kind of, it's interesting for me, because they're not a team that people really talk about, or people really think a lot of it, besides in terms of Mike Trout and Albert Pujols. But it's just interesting. It's interesting. I love baseball, if you didn't know that. Let's talk about the pitching staff. I mean, you look at the roster up and down the pitchers, there are not a lot of names I know, and I would like to say that's saying something. They have Garrett Richards, who has been great for them when he's healthy. They have Matt Shoemaker, Tyler Skaggs. They're missing an ace. They had Jared Weaver for a lot of years, but then he retired. They don't have an ace. And I don't really think they have the payroll or the what am I looking for? The farm system to go out and get an ace. So I mean the pitching, there's the bullpen. There's nobody in that bullpen. I mean, I'm looking at these names and I'm like, are you sure this guy is on a major league roster? Like, but. They have a lot of problems there, and they're in a weaker division, but they're one of the reasons why the division is weak. So I don't really see this team doing much. I'm interested to see if they do make some moves there, because they could really they could go anywhere with the moves. They're not like boxed in as to they just need offense, or they just need defense or pitching or whatever. They kind of really need everything. So they could go out, do something interesting. We'll see. The wild card is really just a mess right now, and it's hard to predict wild card spots this early in the preseason, because nobody's made any moves, and nobody's gone out and gotten anybody. So it's easier to do once some moves have been made and you're able to say, okay, this team has gotten substantially better. But Mike Trout was hurt for the Angels a little bit last year, so that definitely hurt him, because when you lose a guy like that on a team like that, it's detrimental. But we'll see. If the Angels, I might be singing a different tune. We'll check in with the Angels in 6 weeks when we go back through and see how many moves they've made, if they've made any moves. But right now, I don't see them really doing any better than they did last season. Yeah. I mean, I think the Mariners are going to get better, and I think Texas is going to get better. So it will be an uphill battle for the Angels. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm willing to give them a chance. Go Angels. Maybe we'll have an angry Angels fan call in or something. I don't know. My sister who's listening, she loves Mike Trout. Mike Trout is like her favorite baseball player. So I hope the Angels do something good for her and she gets to see Mike Trout in the playoffs. And I hope the Angels do something good for all of us so that we get to see Mike Trout in the playoffs, because as baseball fans, we're all suffering by not seeing Mike Trout in the playoffs. We are going to talk about the Seattle Mariners next. So do not go anywhere, because I'm super excited, and I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your calls. 509-335-2207. We're going to jump back to some more music here. All right. It is that time in the show where we get to do the segment, that I am most excited about, and that is talking about the Mariners and their chances in 2018. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to stop saying 2017 one of these days. So the Mariners, you love them, you hate them, you cry over them. Not me, because I'm not a Mariners fan. But I'm sure lots of you are Mariners fans. And so the Mariners, I try not to laugh because this is very serious. The Mariners 2018 playoff hopes are a very serious topic. Let's talk about the offense first. Obviously, 3-4-5, Robinson Cano, Nelson Cruz, Kyle Seager. Great 3-4-5 when everybody's healthy, when everybody's doing their thing. I mean, the only one, who really, went crazy last year was Nelson Cruz. He had a really great season. Kyle and Robbie had, good seasons, but not, getting to the playoffs, especially when you have the rest of the lineup that's just kind of, not as good. Gene Segura, though, they did acquire from the Diamondbacks last season, I believe. Yes, this was his first full season with Seattle. They acquired him for Taijuan Walker, and he was great for them this season. He hit over 300. He was their leadoff guy, stole lots of bases for them, great speed. That was a great acquisition. Ben Gamel, also, he was in the Yankees farm system for a while. He came over. He did pretty well for him. And then, who else we got? Mitch Haniger, who I was tried to convince that he was going to be Rookie of the Year, and he was hurt, and for a lot of the year he got hit in the face by it was either a Jacob deGrom or a Noah Syndergaard fastball there when the Mets were in town, and he was out for a while. He had he had a whole slew of injuries. I think he had the face contusion, and then I think he had something with his wrist, and then something with his calf, or I mean, every time I turned around he was hurt, and I was like, oh dang, not Rookie of the Year. But their offense, I think they also might go out and get somebody like an Eric Hosmer, a Logan Morrison, somebody, but I think their main focus is definitely going to be on pitching. They have Felix Hernandez, but he injured a lot last season, and then he is, not the pitcher he was a couple of years ago. So I think the Mariners are looking for an ace or an ace type scenario, kind of like what the Astros have with Justin Verlander and Dallas Keuchel. They're looking for those that caliber of number two who can really come in and, seal the deal and do a great job for them. And one of the names that I have heard floated for the Mariners is Yu Darvish, who of course spent most of his career with the Texas Rangers. He was traded to the Dodgers this season at the trade deadline, and now he's a free agent. So I think that would be very interesting if the Mariners went out and got Yu Darvish. The other name that I have heard floated is the Japanese pitcher who is coming over, and everybody's talking about him. Oh, what is his last name? I can't remember. I just had it up. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find it. But that guy, he is probably going to go to the Yankees, is what I've been hearing. Dang, I wish I had his name. But he's the prospect guy coming over. Baseball fans know his name. But the Mariners have also been tied to him. But if the Yankees want him, I think the Yankees are going to get him at this point. And everybody that I've been talking to, everybody that I've been listening to has been saying that he will probably go to the Yankees. But the Mariners and Yu Darvish, I think, is very interesting. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Mariners. I really like it. You've got this great veteran pitcher who, has thrown the ball really well. I know a lot of Japanese players like to play in Seattle. Hisashi Iwakuma and obviously Ichiro played here for a lot of years. There's a lot of Japanese fans. A lot of people actually watch the games in Japan, the Mariners games. And so there's a very big following there. So a lot of Japanese players do like to play for the Mariners, and Yu Darvish is Japanese. And so that would make a lot of sense, I believe. They've got Felix Hernandez, and then they've got James Paxton, who was great for them, but he was also hurt a lot. I mean, the Mariners had to deal with so many injuries last season, and it was rough. Amanda, listening, actually just sent me the name of the pitchers, Otani, who is the Japanese pitcher who's everyone is fighting for right now. So thank you very much, Amanda. He was actually born on July 5th, which is the same birthday as Amanda. Wow, look at that. But the Mariners, so they traded for Mike Leake last season, and he was great for them. Not sure what he's going to do in 2018. So I really think if the Mariners go out, they get Yu Darvish, I think that will be huge for them. I'm interested to see what they do because they were hanging in there for a while, and then they just fell off the map. And I think they finished 7 games out of that wild card spot. They were, tied for 3rd place in the AL West. So, I mean, I'm really, really hoping that this is the Mariners' year. Once again, I don't think they can compete with Houston at all, but I think there is a legitimate case to be made that this team could be a wild card team if they go out and make the necessary pitching moves. I think also the bullpen is another place where some questions need to be raised. Edwin Diaz was a roller coaster, but he, did pretty well most of the time. He had a couple of blown saves there. But I'm looking more middle inning relievers, 6-7 guys who can come in and get you to the end of the bullpen. Yeah, right now I really starting pitching, and I think Yu Darvish makes so much sense for the Mariners, and I think that would be really great. But yeah, is this our year? I love that. We used to have, if you guys haven't been listening, during the first season of Turning Two Tunes, when the regular season was still going on and the Mariners were still playing, we had a segment that was called Is It Our Year? And every week I would answer the question, is it the Mariners' year? And I miss that segment so much because I just love talking about the Mariners. But I think there's a case to be made that this could be your second wild card team. They do have to make some moves there. Things have to fall a certain way. Obviously, they have to play Houston better. It helps that they're in the division with the Angels and the Athletics, so they can, kind of beat up on them. But they're going to have to. These are things they have to do, and they haven't done in the past. They haven't beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. Even when they do make moves, it doesn't all come together. Like either the offense is clicking or the pitching is clicking and, they can't score runs or something is happening where one thing is going well for the Mariners, but it doesn't just all come together. And that's what they need. They need for it all to come together at the right time because I think they have the pieces to make this happen. I mean, they have Robinson Cano, Kyle Seager, Nelson Cruz. So they have the bats there. They've got, I think, Gene Segura was such a great trade. I think maybe the catching situation is a little sketchy there, betting on Mike Zunino to come around and be, hit above 200 might be a far, we might need to get over that at this point. But they have the pieces. If they can just make them fit and they can make everything just click on all cylinders at the same time, why not? That's what I'm saying. Why not? Why can't it be the Mariners' year for that second wild card spot? I'm not going to get too crazy and say World Series, but I think there is a legitimate chance that the Mariners get that second wild card spot this year, and I really, really am super interested to see what kind of moves they make. I think they might try to make some kind of, big, splashy impact deal, and I'm super excited. I'm super excited, guys! Go Mariners. That's what I say. All right. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think the Mariners are going to do this year? Are you #true to the blue? Give me a call, 509-335-2207. We're going to jump back to some more music. All right, so the next team that we are going to talk about, well, first, if you're just joining us, we are today on Turning Two Tunes. We are talking about the AL West and my predictions for how each team in the AL West will do. So we have already tackled the Houston Astros, the Los Angeles Angels, the Seattle Mariners, and now it's time for the team that tied with the Mariners for third place, the Texas Rangers. So they, like the Mariners, had some injury problems last season, but I always like the Rangers for some reason. I just think that they have really good, solid core of guys that I really like. Like guys like Adrian Beltre, Elvis Andrews, those kind of guys. They've got some good young players coming up. They've got Joey Gallo, obviously, Rougned Odor, who is probably remembered best for punching Jose Bautista a couple years back in the playoffs. But he's also a great baseball player, in addition to being really great at punching out Jose Bautista. They've also got Shin-Soo Choo, Delino DeShields, those kind of guys. So the things I'm hearing that the Rangers need to do is improve that outfield, because they've really got the infield. I think is good. I mean, I wouldn't touch the infield. Like you got Joey Gallo, Adrian Beltre, Elvis Andrews. Like you're good there. I think the outfield could use some work. I really do. I think maybe you go out and you get someone like Jason Hayward, someone like that who can come in and just kind of shore up that outfield, because there's some definite questions there. The pitching, they've got Cole Hamels in that ace spot. Great pitcher, Cole Hamels there. They've also got some interesting guys that maybe you haven't heard about, perhaps. They've got Martin Perez, AJ Griffin, Alex Claudio. So I think the pitching staff could obviously use some work there. I mean, there's a lot of questions with this team, and obviously that's why they were a third place team. The bullpen needs work. There are a lot of areas where the Rangers need to address there. The infield's pretty good though. I mean, that's my take on that. I think if they're healthy, they could definitely compete for that second wild card spot. There's going to be a lot of competition for it this year. But once again, I don't see this team coming out of nowhere and beating the Astros and taking that top spot. But I do see them being competitive this year if they stay healthy. I think they make a couple of moves here and there, maybe get, a 3-4 guy for that rotation, go out, pick up a solid outfielder. I think it'll be interesting to see what they do this year. That's for sure. Yeah. I think this is, I keep using that word a lot, interesting. One, because I think baseball is very interesting, and I think theorizing about it is very interesting. But two, I think there are just so many options that these teams could explore. That's kind of the nice thing about, I don't want to say nice thing. That's kind of the thing about being not a first place team, is you have a lot of options you can explore, and you have a lot of avenues you can go in. I know they have a pretty good farm system down there. That's where Joey Gallo came from. So yeah, I'm interested to see what the Rangers do this year. They can make a lot of moves there that I think would be interesting. I need to pull out my thesaurus and stop using interesting and find a different word. Astonishing. Yeah, we'll pull up a thesaurus here. But I think the Rangers there might be able to compete for that second wild card spot. I'm gonna wait to make that final decision. I mean, the regular season ended like a month ago, or the season in general ended like a month ago, and nobody's made any moves yet. So winter meetings are coming up. That's when a lot of GMs, they all meet, they all get together, a lot of baseball people, and they all talk to each other. So we will see what happens with this team. But for right now, I think their priorities are going to be outfield and then pitching, both starting and relief. So yeah. Any Rangers fans out there listening right now who want to talk about the Rangers, or Mariners fans? Or there was a Cougar football game yesterday that I have avoided talking about because the result was not so good. It was the Apple Cup, and we lost again. Luke Falk, 4 years in a row, or I don't know, 4 years. But he's Luke Falk, who's the quarterback for the Cougars, has never won an Apple Cup, and this was his last one. So it was just sad all the way around. So if you want to talk about the Apple Cup, give me a call, 509-335-2207. Here's some more music for you guys. All right. it is now time to talk about the last team in the AL West, and that would be the Oakland Athletics, who finished last in the division. And I think pretty sure they finished last in the division 2 years ago too. So, I mean, I'm struggling to like find things to say about the A's because they just have so many players where it's just like, you play for this team? I've never heard of you. There's no one on this team who's like the face of the franchise, who's like that one guy where you can point to and say, oh yeah, he plays for the A's. Like, you know, the Mariners have Robinson Cano or the Angels have Mike Trout. There's no one on this team who would be like casual baseball fans might know. And so I guess let's talk about the offense. When you're a last place team, you're not scoring runs and you're giving up too many runs. So, I mean, they have Marcus Semien at shortstop, who is like a huge joke between me and my brother because all he does is commit errors. He has like the same amount of errors as like some teams do. Like, it's like horrifying how many errors he has a season. They've got Chad Pinder, Jed Lowry. Maybe Jed Lowry is the face of the franchise. Chris Davis, Mark Canha. Mark Canha actually had a pretty good year last year. There we go. Mark Canha, face of the franchise for the Oakland Athletics. Boog Powell, who they just acquired from the Mariners. I don't know. This team is depressing. I mean, it's like you think about, you're like, oh, you know, you're going to get better with the farm system, but then you think about the farm system and you think about how Billy Beane has depleted it, and you think about how this team used to be such a good team. It feels like just a couple of years ago, like this team was the team to beat. They had Yoenis Cespedes in left, they had Josh Donaldson at third, and then Josh Donaldson got into a fight with Billy Beane, and he was on a bus to Toronto, and then they traded Cespedes to the Red Sox for John Lester, but then John Lester left in free agency, and they had that terrible collapse when was that? It was 2014 or 2015, where they had that they were going, and then Billy Beane tried to make one more move, and he tried to get John Lester, and he swapped John Lester for Yoenis Cespedes, and Johnny Gomes came over to the A's in that trade, and they couldn't score runs without Cespedes. Like, they went on this run where they could not score a run. Like, the pitching was great, they couldn't score any runs. Yeah, they just, and then they had that stretch there, and then I lost my train of thought. They went into the wild card game against the Royals, and they were up like 8-0 or something, and then they completely blew it, and they lost the game, and that was kind of it, like, for the A's, and they haven't been good since then. They used to have Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray is now with the Yankees. They have Kendall Graveman, who they got for Josh Donaldson. I mean, it's like so many trades have been made with this team that have just depleted them and made them such a worse team. And it's sad because you think about it, they used to be so good, and now they're not. I mean, they play in the Coliseum, which is just like, they have 10,000 feet of foul ground, and it's always empty, and nobody goes to the games, and it's dark, and whatever. Yeah, I really, this team, I don't even know where to start with this team. I mean, they need everything. They need pitching, they need hitting, they need defense. So they got a lot of work to do. Is this the A's year? No, it's not the A's year. But yeah, we'll see what they do with this team. Because there's a lot of avenues they could go in, but will any prove fruitful for a playoff run? Nah. So, I mean, they're focusing on restocking the farm system, I think, at this point, rather than they're not going to go out and get anybody big. So sorry, A's fans, but this is not your year. That is it for the AL West. At the end of every show, I'm going to do an AL West. We'll have the division and then who I think will win. So I think obviously the winner is going to be the Houston Astros. In this division, it's really like a runaway for them. I think if the Mariners make the right moves, and I might adjust these in 6 weeks when we come back and take a look at what teams have done. If the Mariners make the right moves, they're number 2. Rangers 3, Angels 4, A's 5. Yes, that's my pick. Those are my picks. I feel confident about those picks. We are going to play a couple of more songs here because we are running out of time on the show. 2 hours just flies by. But if you want to get in a call really, really quick and you want to talk about the AL West real quick, 509-335-22. All right, y'all. It is that time in the show where it's time for me to say goodbye. But once again, I do want to thank everyone for listening and everyone who's tuned in to the season premiere of season 2 of Turning Two Tunes. Sure, let's roll with it. Both on the live stream and on the radio. It means so much to me that each and every one of you is tuning in to hear little old me talk about baseball and play some country music. So thank you so much. I'm going to head out of here, but as always, I will be here next week, 12 to 2. Next week, we're going to talk about the AL Central. So if you're a fan of the Tigers, Royals, Cleveland, the White Sox, or Minnesota, you should tune in because we're going to be talking about your team. I'm going to play one last song for you guys, and I am going to head out of here. I hope you have a terrific week, and I'll catch you back here next week for more Turning Two Tunes. Bye, guys!